view. All right, so I can I will show you my where we started before, but well,
Okay.
wait, I'm gonna exit you to, I'll make you minimize. All right, so I can see you at the same time. Is that fine?
Very clear. It's fine. Yeah.
It is. Sorry about that, because I'm trying to project it with a bigger. I have to project a bigger one, but it made the receptions a lot better. We're done with the definition of food security. We're done with the definition of food security. And may I reemphasize that it is a situation when you are physically, socially, and economically have access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food. So there are three things: sufficient, safe, and nutritious food that can meet the dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life. So what is the opposite of that? Okay, the opposite of that is what we call food insecurity. It is a situation when again, it's a situation that exists when you lack secure access to sufficient amount of safe and nutritious food for normal growth and development and an active and healthy life. So in other words, it's just the opposite. But I'd like to emphasize this one. What is the meaning of when you don't have sufficient amount and safe nutritious food? For children, normal growth means being stunted. You know, you don't grow at the age level that you are supposed to grow. And development and an active and healthy life, meaning to say they don't play, they are so sluggish, they don't want to play, they only wanted to sleep, they wanted to stay indoors. That is an indicator for children who do not have enough and sufficient amount of safe and nutritious food. What about for middle adult like you, Alex? Usually the attention span is very short. When we say now they are attentive, then after 20 minutes, they are no longer listening. That is a sign that they don't have sufficient nutritious and safe amount of food. What about for adults, for 60 and above? What is the sign that they don't have enough food for normal growth and development? One sign for that is they easily fall down, and they fall when they usually fall because of lack of calcium in their bone. They break up, and they usually are found in scratches. What they use for walking. So those are the indicators when you are not getting safe and nutritious food. One, for children, you are shorter than your age group. For middle adult, usually you cannot go to school because you have very short attention span. For adult, you usually fall down, you break up, you usually break your hip, or you get fractured bones. Now let me continue to the second paragraph. When there is food insecurity, there is poor conditions of health and sanitations and inappropriate care and feeding practices. These are the major causes of poor nutritional status. So when we talk about food insecurity, sometimes it's chronic. It means for a long, long time. Meaning, chronic meaning to say it doesn't change over a long period of time. Sometimes food insecurity is only during dry months, during non-harvest period. That is seasonal. Transitory is when, for a time being, you feel you don't have enough food, but then after a few days, food will come in. So there are three ways of insecurity: chronic, seasonal, or transitory. This is the longest. I don't know how it is in Africa. I think when you have a prolonged famine, it is chronic.
Yes.
If it is seasonal, when it is not harvest time, then people are suffering from lack of food. Transitory means to say that when there is suddenly there is a typhoon that destroys the harvest, then that is considered what we call lack of food as well. Let me move on to the next slides. As you could see, you have two columns here. On the left column, you have food security has 4 dimensions. The first one is food availability. Second is economic and physical access to food. Third is how you utilize the food. And the fourth one is stability over time. Food availability. Okay, can you buy it in any store that is available? Then it's food availability. Sometimes the food is availability, but you cannot access it because it's too expensive. I'm in number 2 now. Because it is too expensive and only the rich people can afford it. The third one is food utilization. How you use this food. Is it used for making more chips or making it for as a main meal? And then the fourth one is stability over time. Is it stable, meaning to say, will I be assured of getting rice, for example, throughout the year? And that is stability over time. When we talk about insecurity, it is the opposite. You have unavailable food. You don't have purchasing power. There are food, but you cannot buy it. And I think that is true in many developing countries like in the Philippines. You know, only the rich can afford to buy the rice because they have enough money because the rice jack up. The other one, when we talk about economic and physical, inappropriate distribution or inadequate use of food at the household level. What the meaning of inadequate use of food at the household level? Lot of waste. In my country, for example, when you go to a commercial restaurant, there is what they call unlimited rice. The food that you buy, the viand that you buy is fixed, but they give you unlimited rice, and that is an attraction for customers. But most of the time, a lot of the rice is wasted because of that. And that is the meaning of inappropriate distribution or inadequate use of food. That is the inadequate use of food at the house level. Inappropriate distribution, meaning to say it's only found in the central part of the country. But the peripheral part of the country, you cannot anymore buy food. Like in the rural areas where they produce food, it happens, Alex, I don't know. Sometimes it's more expensive to buy food in the rural areas because they bring all their food in the urban areas. So that the people in the rural areas sometimes do not have food, you know, or sometimes the food is even at a higher cost, no? And that is what we meant by inappropriate distribution or of food. If you travel to the developed country, for example, it's more on. In the Philippines, we have what you call a road market. You know, from farm to market road. You have road from the farm to the market. And because of bad roads, you know, bad roads, the goods from the farm cannot be brought to the market. I don't know how it is in your country. There is, sometimes it's not, you cannot find food in the rural areas. sometimes there is so much supply of food in the rural areas, but there is no way for them to transport them to the commercial centers. So one of the projects of the Philippines is to build roads to connect the farm to the market, no? So that we get away. When there is no road, wherein there is no road, what do farmers in the rural areas do? These are some of the problems. They sell it to middlemen who can afford to have big trucks and load. And the middleman tend to bargain it and buy it a very low price, right? And then when they sell it to the commercial center, they usually jack up the price. And yet they did not produce the food, and yet they are the one who are getting rich. Now the purpose of the farm to market road, you know, the road from the farm to the market, is they try to remove the middleman so that the farmer himself or the farmers themselves can bring their produce to the market so that they can have the price, you know, the price that they want. So we are eliminating the middleman. So let me illustrate it by showing you this. I will show you the slide for that. Okay, so what we have is farm to market road.
Excuse.
Yes.
The slide is not appearing on our screen. We cannot see the slide.
So if you can switch the screen from your view, your face to your PowerPoint slide or something.
A while ago, you cannot see my slide. Even right now, I'm just typing. Okay.
We didn't see your slide. Just we are seeing your face.
You don't see the slide all the time?
Yeah.
So can you see the option to choose which
Okay,
is
all right.
as a share?
Oh, you don't see the slides. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I mean, the last year,
You don't see this?
you can switch your screen to, and then so that we can share your slide.
Exit, minimize, exit. You can, what do I switch on?
Share on the screen.
Use your mouse and move the mouse cursor to the bottom of the screen, then the new option come up.
Share.
This is just a training session for Professor Nelson to use, right? So please take your time.
Can you see it now?
Yes, right now.
Yes, yeah.
That is. Yes.
I'm sorry. So do you want me to start? Or
Please continue.
Okay, this is the first slide. The food. Can you see it now?
Right.
Yes, it is appearing good.
Sorry.
Yeah, this is a training session for you, right?
Okay, better. Okay, this is the first slide that I was telling about a while ago. I gave you this is the insecurity. I'm sorry you did not tell me that you cannot see it. All right, and then this is the food insecurity. These are the 4 dimensions: food availability, economic and physical access to food, food utilization and stability over time. The opposite of that is this, okay? And then in the Philippines, I was telling you, one of the things that we do. Can you see me now?
Right.
Can you
Yes.
see the slide?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, we have the Farm to Market Road project, right? And as I was telling you a while ago, is the reason for that is that we build good roads so that we can eliminate middlemen or businessmen. Because these middlemen are the ones who are buying food from the farmers, and usually they they jack up the price when they go to the market. And so the poor middle and the poor farmers do not get the price that they want. All the profit go to the middleman. So if you have the farm to market road, what happened is that you remove the middleman because the farmers themselves are the one bringing their food, their produce to the market. And that is the purpose of the farm to market road. Okay, do you have something like that in Africa?
Yeah, it is the same situation. Like because like in my country, the produce are in the rural area during the rain season. The farmers cannot access the market because the road become impassable because we don't have proper road. It is the same situation as you have already mentioned, and there are some few commercial traders who will be able to fluke their way using their truck, then bargain with the farmers in a cheaper price. Afterward, they will transport their goods to commercial center, and they are overcharged now the
That is
consumers.
exactly what is happening in our country. But do you have projects like improving your roads? How is your road situation?
There are some projects being funded by European Union
Oh,
to
so the Europe
European,
roads.
yeah, the European Union are funding some road project to connect the feeder road to the farm producing area, so that the farmers can access market. But due to the insecurity, most of the project have ceased.
In the middle of the road, they are seized by some
Mm,
pirate.
no, I just because of the war, the project have
Because of
already
the
stopped.
war.
Yeah, the
Because
project
of the
stopped
war.
because yeah,
Fighting
the
situation.
the donors cannot fund some because they fear also for their lives. They have to stop funding some of the projects.
Oh, okay. So in our case, we don't have war. But what we
Really?
taxes, sometimes they ask uh, corrupt officials, they tax you for all the foods that you bring from town to town. Each town asks for tax, so that the prices also go up, right?
Yeah, also it do happen to our country. The tax system is like centralized because everybody just put a roadblock. They overcharge the trader sometimes. That's why sometimes the price go up because
Yeah,
of
yeah.
there is no centralized system of taxation. Everyone, yeah, just create the mostly the men in uniform, the security personnel. Well, sometimes they are pay less. Now they create roadblock to collect money.
That is exactly, So that is one, there is available food, but it is not accessible because not necessarily of economic situation, but sometimes of the political situation, right? Like war and conflict. Okay, according to the Food or Agricultural Organization, FAO, right? Food security is a complex concept. It has 4 pillars and many indicators, and there are complex correlations between many parameters. Okay? So it's a very complex concept, and we'll try to understand it. Okay. As we did mention, the very first one is physical availability of food. Sometimes this is the supply side of the food as determined by the level of food production, stock levels, and net rate. In most cases, when we talk about the physical availability of food, there is enough food, but there's no way for them to bring them to the commercial market. But sometimes there is really no food because of disaster, because of drought, because of typhoon. So there is no food, enough food. Sometimes also the stock level, because of that, the stock levels goes down. So if you look at we have what they call the National Food Authority here, where they are in charge of putting in a lot of rice and stocking a lot of rice. It goes down when there is not enough supply of rice. The second dimension is the economic and the physical access to food, right? This is the second dimension. What is the meaning of that? When there is insufficient food access is also determined by policy focus on income, expenditures, market, and prices in achieving food security objectives. In my country, we have what they call we have a price index for all commercial food, meaning to say that we have the government fix the price so that anyone who violated in jacking up the price of the food is held accountable. That is the economic aspect of food. For example, you have what they call an SRP, meaning to say retail price. You cannot go beyond that. For example, a sack of rice should only be 27 pesos per kilo. If you go beyond that for that price, then what is that sound?
That's the bell for the lesson change line.
The first
All
period
right.
Yeah. Yes.
this morning.
The third one is food utilization. Food utilization is how the body makes the most out of the various nutrients in the food. This includes good care and feeding practices, food preparation, diversity of the diet, and intra-household distribution of food, and good biological utilization of food consumed. I'd like to give something, to say something, a good example on this. And perhaps Alex, Adi, you can also mention your own example. Now, in the rural areas where most of the head of the households are farmers, most of the time, the head of the farmers usually get most of the food because they, according to the practice, because they work so hard. So they eat first, they get most of the food, 60% of the food or rice is going to the farmer, and the rest of the members of the family, the rest of the farm members, farm households, get less. Or sometimes they eat after, meaning whatever it was left by the farmer, it is the family members follow. And they divide it among the family members what was left by the farmers. How is it? That is an example of food utilization. How is it in your country?
In my country, it was before I came to Japan. I was working in one of the pastoralist community. There, the pastoralists, women are the ones searching for food, but after preparing, first they have to give the youth like the jugdang to the husband and the kid they like, because in the area where I was, the nutritional situation of like women is not good, because most of the women they took care for men, and the children sometimes, because they can move after the cattle and they can take milk, they are okay, but the women are suffering nutritionally because
Right.
they do care. But the other farmers, the other community, it is not like that, because people are now changing with the level of education. As people get education, they do change. Because previously, maybe such kind of only generation that had been existing, but the current generation, people have now changed. If one food is brought, be divided for, if it is the rural area, you give men the group, women also say the areas they divide. So, but in the city or in the some urban town, the food is brought, then everybody serves in his plate. So that's what I can tell.
All right, thank you. I'm glad there is a participation of women in your country. In our country also, do participate. No, sometimes the women are there is increasing number of women farmers as well in my country, but most of the time they do not do the planting, they do not do the plowing of the field, but they do the weeding. They do not also apply the fertilizers, but they do the weeding and they help in the harvesting, right? The share of food, of course, is also equal. Uh, the women prepare the food they cook the food, and
Yes.
the men usually don't do that. That is in terms of food utilization. So in other words, there is a division of labor, even in the farm. So the
Yes.
men do the plowing of preparation of the land, of the agricultural land. And then the women actually do the upkeeping, they weed, they do the weeding regularly, and sometimes also help in the harvesting and in the preparation of seedlings. That is
Yes.
food utilization. Okay, diversity of the diet. In Japan, I know when I've been there, they have so many small plates around. If you notice it, that each plate is a different kind of food. That is not usually in my country. In the poor Filipino, so they have diverse food. So in Japan, if you notice, diverse food, diversity of food, as you see in the plate. No? In the Philippines, you have fish or one bayan, lots of rice, no, and that's it, no, so in Japan there is diversity of the diet, no. We don't eat a lot of raw food. We eat a lot more of cooked food in our country. And I mentioned about the intra-household distribution of food. Within the household, usually the man or the farmer get most of the share, right? Good. Is it a good biological utilization of food consumed? How is it done? Yeah, because the rationale behind that is that they expel more energy, so they have to get in more energy in terms of food. So I think that is the 3 dimension. Let's go to the 4th dimension. The 4th dimension is stability of the 3 dimensions over time. Meaning to say, this one should be stable. Physical availability, economic and physical access, and food utilization. And that is the meaning of stability of the 3 dimension over time. Even if your food intake is adequate today, you are still considered food insecure if you have these 5 things on this side of the table. You are still insecure if you have inadequate access to food on periodic basis. So that one of the questions that is being asked to Filipino people, especially among the rural areas and where there is a high poverty of incidence, is this is the question that they are asked. How many times in a week have you come hungry? If they've been, how many times have you experienced being hungry within a week? That is
every day.
an indicator of inadequate access to food on periodic basis.
Every day
If
hungry.
you had, for example, get hungry at least 3 times a week, then that is a sign of food insecurity. The second one is a deterioration of your nutritional status. What happened is that nutritional status means to say that you are so big. That is not also good. So malnutrition is 2 things. You are too thin or too stout,
Fat.
or too fat. All right. Too fat means to say you get a lot of carbohydrates, no, and no exercise, of course. Too thin is that you don't really get enough food. So that is the meaning of nutritional status. The third one is there is an adverse weather condition, meaning to say during the rainy months, in the Philippines, we have 22 typhoons each year. And most of the time, one of the vulnerable sectors in our country that is affected by typhoon is the agricultural sectors. Usually, before they harvest, their plant is already destroyed or flooded by typhoon. That's why in International Rice Research Organization, they invented a rice that is flood resistant. They actually had food and rice stalks that are really long, so that the grains will not be flooded. You know, but that is what they have developed. And I think the fourth one is you can relate political instability.
Yeah.
All right. Sometimes the president has been there for too long a time, for decades. And that is
Yes.
also political instability because they bring their own lords, warlords. Those who are loyal to them become, get their food, while those who are not loyal to the government, to the head of the government, get the food. That is political instability as well. The other side of political instability is, your leader has been ousted by a coup. There's a coup. And therefore, that is again a change, and that results to political instability. The fifth one is economic factors. People are unemployed. There is not enough employment opportunities for the people, and so there is rising food prices, right? So may I repeat this slide? You have to have stability of food when you have those three dimensions over time. But you become insecure if you have all of this. You have inadequate access to food on periodic basis. You have deterioration of your nutritional status. Either you go too fat or too thin. The third one is adverse weather condition. The fourth one is political instability and unemployment and rising food prices. This is the sketch that will just to remind you. You have a copy of this anyway, right? Okay. So those are the food dimensions. The food dimensions of food security, availability of food. Even if it's available, if it's not accessible to you, no good. Food utilization and food stability. So when you talk about food availability, these are production, distribution, and exchange. For food accessibility, you cannot afford it. There is very little allocation in your area because much of the allocation go to the rich people. And then sometimes preferences too is part of food accessibility. The third dimension is this one: food safety, nutritional value, and social value. The food utilization. Do you eat enough of carbohydrates? No, meaning yams and so forth and rice, but very little protein. That is food utilization. And food stability means there is shortage of food because of the stress on available resources. And one of the reasons there is because people do not like to farm anymore. So they migrate and go instead work in factory workers. So there is also a lot of migrations from the rural areas. Young men, or what we call millennials like you, do not like to farm anymore, but prefer to work in a factory. But in our case, they wanted to prefer to work in supermarket or in malls where they are in uniforms, they get to have good dresses, and they can wear makeup, no? So those are the four dimensions. Do you have any questions so far? Is this clear? So you know that to be food secure, you have to have this: food accessibility, food utilization, and food stability. And the circles and the ones inside it are actually the meaning of those 4 dimensions. Now that is what they call risk. What is the meaning of risk? Excuse me, I will just turn off the...
Security alarm. Someone has that. The telephone call.
Sorry. The next one is what we call risk, food security risk. The Maplecraft Food Security Risk Index measures quality, safety, affordability, and availability of food. So they came up with the Food Security Index, or they also have what they call a famine early warning system networks, so that to tell you whether all of these 4 dimensions are present. I will show you in the next slide. First, they said that food is the ultimate security need. There is now a map that shows when you are suffering from food security risk. What is it? It is a graphic demonstration of the sickening symbiotic relationship between hunger and conflict. That's why I'm putting together regional conflict with food security, and highlights of food supply problems from Somalia to India to Spain. There is a highlight of food supply problems from these 2 areas. Let me show you. Okay, this is the map that shows you, this is what they call the Food Security Risk Index. And I think you can secure this one too. The darker the color is, the more insecure is food. The more they suffer from food insecurity rather than food security. So in other words, they don't have those 4 dimensions that I have mentioned a while ago. So when you talk about this, Afghanistan, as you could see here, is suffering from a lot of food insecurity. The other one is Eritrea, Somalia, as you could see, Somalia, Ethiopia, Burundi, and
Comoro Island.
Comorona Island. Yes, all these islands. And here, another part in Africa is Chad, South Sudan, and of course, Democratic Republic of Congo. Right, Democratic Republic of Congo. In Asia, Afghanistan, we are also orange. This is the Philippines. We are also orange, meaning not also very good. But this is where you are right now. The green one, the Japan. They are so secure. Green means secured, right? Orange, the rest of the China, as you could see, is also orange. But what you notice is that a lot of food security risk is coming in your region, Africa. It's either red and deep orange. As you could see, these are right at a glance, you could see where there is a lot of food insecurity. In South America, it is the same as most of China and the Philippines in South America. The green one is this one. Okay, right. Of course, the United States is very secured. The United States is very secured. And then the blue one is a lot of seafoods, no? A lot of seafoods. That's the meaning of that. So right at a glance, you could see what regions are suffering from food insecurity. Africa, Afghanistan, and then that of this
India.
part of India. Yes, even India. My goodness, even India. Let's move on. I'll show you this one. Right, technology. Here you can actually tap this and look for it. That's why I gave you the website. You can look for the interactive map, for yourself, and then you can play around it as well. That's why I gave you the website. Okay. The technology is according to them. So how do we solve this food insecurity? That is your question. How do we solve this insecurity? According to this slide, it is technology. Technology is the key to transforming the global food system. This is in Davos, Switzerland during the World Economic Forum that was only held very recently in 2019. I am going to share to you what their solutions are for food insecurity, and they call it technology. The report highlights the potential of emerging technologies to improve the traceability in food value chain. Food traceability in food value chains. I will let you know what is the meaning of that. This traceability is you can trace where from the farm to the market. You can trace it, the process until it goes to the table of the households. Where is the food coming from? From the farm to the what is the chain? From the farm to the market to the table of every household. Now, why this traceability is good? They call it traceability technology. It can reduce food waste and actually outbreaks of foodborne illnesses. As you know, if the food is not transported well, before it reaches the table of the individual household, it's no longer good. No? Both of which remain a significant challenge worldwide. Again, this is the source. You can tap it. I give you the source for it. No? According to the World Health Organization, so we have now the World Health Organization, there are as many as 600 million people who get sick, and about 420,000 die annually. Why? Because of contaminated food. No? In addition, a sizable portion of the food produced globally each year is lost or wasted. Oh my goodness. That's why they said that what United States is throwing is enough to feed the developing countries like Asia and in the Philippines. That is 600 million people every year, every year. And 420,000 die. So people get 600 yearly and 420,000. What is the reason why they die? Because of just contaminated food. That's why our discussion here is very important. Food, because it can make you die if you have contaminated food. Now, what are these technologies? Okay, how do they trace the food from the market to the table? No, from the farm to the table. One of the recommendations that they said in the Davos, Switzerland 2019 is the use of sensors and GPS to track food products. So I don't know if you have the machine, there is a chip. You put chip in the food, in the cargo of food, a chip, a tiny chip, a microchip, so that you can trace where it is going on. I know it is being done on animals, on wild animals. They put a chip in their feet so that they can track where they fly, where they get food, and so forth and so on. And they can monitor it. So this GPS monitors meaning to say they track where the food is going on using sensors and GPS. No? The second technology is they call it the blockchain technology to track, aggregate, and supply and share supply chain data. For example, if there is enough, so much food going to this area, maybe what you do is redistribute it to go to areas where there is not enough food. What is the third technology? It is non-invasive, non-destructive sensing such as spectroscopy. They use spectroscopy to measure and track products quality and safety, and machine learning and image processing to analyze all of this data. So what you do is they analyze this data. They do not only tell you where it is, but they analyze it so that they can improve it. Again, that is the source, Davos 2019. The question is, so in this one, I gave you what are the technologies that they are recommending. In this slide, why these technologies? Why these technologies? According to the Davos 2019, they can help fulfill consumer demands for greater transparency in food supply chains. So that you know where it stopped, you know where the taxes had happened, you know where it was blockaded by terrorist group, you know where it happened. So consumers want to know that the food that they are buying is safe and sustainably produced. By providing more reliable data about food products from farm to fork. It's farm to fork, meaning use the fork, table. Emerging can help meet this demand. So what is the reason for this technology? So that you're assured that what you are eating is safe and there is enough food for you, not only for yourself in 1 year, but for your grandchildren. Not only for your children, but for your grandchildren. The second reason, they can enhance traceability that can help policymakers and food companies to respond more efficiently and effectively to outbreaks of foodborne illness. For example, if they know that the food has been contaminated somewhere in the middle of the rural areas and to the commercial areas, the food companies and the government can respond to it. No? So they can pinpoint where it is going on, where and what place it took place, where the food contamination had taken place. So in identifying and containing such outbreaks, new technologies can also be used to inform better inspection and quality control process, thus reducing the risk of further food safety issues. In my country, and I used to compare it in other countries like the United States, how do they transport food? Sometimes they transport food by trucks, you know. They put in a lot of vegetables in a jeep. You know, sometimes they are no longer, some of the leaves get dry, get destroyed. Comparing it to the United States, they have what they call refrigerated trucks, railroad. Much of their trains are refrigerated, that's helped to transform the food. So that when you reach the table, it is as good as it was. And because it is also very fast. So sometimes they harvest it at 9 o'clock in the morning. You eat it at 10 o'clock. That is how fast it is. In my country, they harvest it a day. What you're eating was harvested 2 days ago. No? And sometimes because it takes a while, they wanted to increase the food shelves, you know, of the food so that it will remain fresh. Sometimes they add toxic materials, like for example, formaldehyde solution, so that the eggplant can always stay shiny and so on. But then you're eating the formaldehyde because our transportation from food to the table is very bad. Unlike in other countries, I think it's also true in Japan. They get the fish, you eat it right there. You know, you can see that they just fish it, then you can eat your sashimi, you know, very fresh right there and there. It takes a while in my country. I'm speaking for my country. Sometimes it takes 1 week before it reaches the market. And because to make it look as fresh as it was at first, that they add all these solutions, no, to make it look good. Okay, so with the traceability, they can tell where did they put, what did they put, also because there are sensors. Number 3 reason, technologies for traceability can help identify where food is being lost. I think you can identify that. Where was it lost and wasted along the food value chain? This information can help producers, processors, and policymakers adjust value chain functioning to cut waste, accelerated product processing, and reduce the spoilage cost. At what point in the value chain did the food get lost? What point in the value chain, in the food value chain, where the food was wasted? What part of the value chain where there was a contamination, no, of the food? And that is the reason why this technology the fourth reason. Finally, these technologies can be used to validate food companies and government claims regarding production processes, thus reducing a level of accountability for commitment on stability. So there's no more finger pointing. What I mean by finger pointing, blaming the food company, blaming the government, blaming the farmers, blaming so many people except for themselves. Now, if you have this traceability technology, you can really tell where it happened, who is to blame, where it happened, and the fourth one is who is to blame. Who is to blame? And that is the meaning of how we can solve food insecurity. According to Davos, we have to have a traceability technology. A traceability. They're not even recommending refrigerated containers. They're just recommending put sensors in the food trucks so that you will be able to trace and track where they are and who is responsible for it. Do you have questions?
Question? Because
Yeah,
I've learned a lot because today I got some new about the technology.
yeah. The
Yeah.
technology, I don't know how viable it is and how fast we can use the technology, but I think that is. Do you think that solution is viable in developing countries? The traceability technology.
Yeah,
I do
I
not
think
know the cost.
I think so because now like in the rural area, people have some network like the mobile network. Because using such a mobile network, people can trace now. They can connect using the.
They can already trace where is
Yeah.
my food truck now, right? Yes.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
sometimes you do not have to have a cell phone. They have a GPS that goes
Yes.
into their cell phone. They have a GPS that they can tell already. They don't have to text. They can tell where their food is using this piece of technology. Okay.
Yes.
Now, this technology is not all good. There are risks of these technologies as well. What are these risks? You are excluding smallholder farmers and small medium enterprises in developing countries because they might not have this. No? More than 75% of investment in agriculture and food technology take place in developed countries. Multi-stakeholders will be needed to ensure that developing regions are not left behind in the race to develop innovative food technology. That is what I'm afraid of. There are a lot of multi-stakeholder collaborations that has needed to ensure that we can benefit from these innovative food technologies. This collaboration should include a wide range of actors. Who are these? Who are the stakeholders? The producers, the farmers, the government, technology companies, agribusiness companies, retailers, and us, the civil society. These are the different stakeholders. And you need to have the cooperation of all of these stakeholders in order to take advantage of this technology. No? In order to take advantage of this technology. Okay, so what had happened right now is what I have discussed to you is to define the food security and the 4 dimensions of food security and what is the meaning of food insecurity. The second one I pointed is where in the world are there food insecurity risks? As you could see, there are many in Africa and in many other developing countries. The third, what are the solutions for this? And I gave you this traceability technology. What is the technology? Why is the technology important? But there are also disadvantages of this technology. That is what I have discussed so far with you. Now, this technology is part of what you call revolutions. And I'm going to give you now a little background of revolutions. All right? Okay. We are now in the 4th industrial revolutions. This technology is part of the 4th industrial revolution. This traceability technology is part of the industrial revolution. Now, I'm going to give you now a background of these revolutions, no? Industrial revolution. The first industrial revolution, of course, took place in the 18th to 19th century in Europe and North America, and it was produced when there was agrarian rural societies became industrial and urban. That is the first industrial revolution. How did it start? Because of what? Iron and textile helped develop the steam engine. That is the first industrial revolution. This is the picture of the popping Billy steam engine that was taken in the Scientific Museum in London that started the first industrial revolution. The second industrial revolution took place between 1870 and 1914. This was before the World War I, your great-grandfather, no? It was a period of growth for pre-existing industries and expansion of new ones such as steel, oil, and electricity, and use of electric power. Before it was steam engine. Now, what is the second industrial? Use of electric power to create mass production. Because there are now many people, so that now we can wear clothes the same all over the world. No? Mass production. In Japan, you have Uniqlo. You know the brand Uniqlo. Right? They mass produce products. Major advances in this period are telephone, light bulb, phonograph, and internal combustion engine. That is the second industrial revolution. The third industrial revolution is called the digital revolution. What do you call it? Digital revolution. The digital revolution is the advancement for analog, electronic, and mechanical devices, and it's available today. When did it start? 1980, and it's still ongoing now. These advancements during the third industrial revolution include what are these? Personal computer, the one we are using now. This is the digital revolution. This is a way of lecturing, you know, distance lecturing. And this is because of digital revolution. We are in the digital revolution right now. The internet and information and communication technology. We are taking advantage of the digital technology. This is the 1983 industrial robot KUKA, all right? Right, that is an example of industrial. Now we are now in the fourth industrial revolution. It builds on but it represents what? Embedded within societies and even within the human body. You can have a robot, you can have a bar here, and they can scan you and tell the people what is your blood pressure, what is your illnesses, and so forth and so on. It's what you call fourth industrial revolution. What do we have? Robotics, artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, quantum computing, biotechnology, Internet of Things, what they call it, decentralized consensus, 3D printing, and autonomous vehicles. They can drive on their own, the vehicles. Where is our technology on food insecurity? Is it digital or fourth industrial? Alex.
It is now from revolution.
The traceability technology, is it third industrial or fourth industrial?
Is in the third, but has now moved to the fourth one because of Internet of Things, IoT.
It's IoT, Internet of Things. Okay. So it's so-called the fourth industrial revolution. This was actually a book. There is a book about this by Schwab. No? This underlying basis for 4I lies in the advancement in communication and connectivity rather than technology. So it's more communication technology. These technologies have great potential to contribute to connect to billions of more people to the web, drastically improve the efficiency of business and organization, and help regenerate natural environment through better asset management. That's why the traceability technology is part of the fourth industrial revolution, because you enhance the natural environment through better assessment of management. This is the author of the book. The name is Klaus Schwab, an executive chairman of the World Economic Forum in the Davos 2019. That is the book. No, that is this person. All right, who wrote about the fourth industrial. According to Arik Segel, the fourth industrial evolves of a unique opportunity to improve human communication and conflict resolution. I don't know how it can resolve conflict, but according to Arik Segel, it can help in the conflict resolution. The praise for was first introduced by Schwab, the person that I showed you when? Not very long ago, 2015, 4 years ago, in the article in Foreign Affairs. So we are very abreast here. What I'm teaching you here is very current, no? Right. So these are example of fourth industrial revolution. What they call this? It's a webcam that travels around the desert and features the area. No? This is what Google are using, the Google Earth. No? The view of the Mars, that they are in Mars, I'm sorry. This is the view of the Mars. They were able to explore the Mars. They don't have to bring in people or astronauts there. They just use this. Landscape close to the ESO shows one of ESO Seeker prototype mass over vehicles during the Seeker used its stereo vision to map its surroundings, assess how far it had moved and plan its route, and taking care to avoid obstacles. Because there is a suspicion that there might be some living things in Mars. So they use this. Then of course the robotics. No? Right? If it is dangerous, you ask the robots to do it for you. They can also use it for cars. And Internet of Things, as you said, you are familiar with that. Right. Now, this is what my interpretation here. Can you read it first? May I go and send my phone?
Food security risk map for the Indian subcontinent and the Iberian Peninsula. Iberian Spanish.
Okay. What dominates the food insecurity?
Sub-Sahara Africa.
Subcontinent and the Iberian Peninsula. So these are the food insecurity factors according to the UN Convention to combat. What is the reason? Poor soil, water scarcity, land degradation, low growth on agricultural yield, population growth, poverty, gender, malnutrition. What are the worsening price factors? High prices on the commodity market, lack of investment, governing issues and land grabbing, lack of regional cooperation and conflict, migration and climate change. Okay, these are the ones. Can you comment on any of this? Since a lot of the food insecurity are happening in the sub-Saharan desert.
Yes, like inherent poor soil. This is one of the major factors because we have enough land, but due to the practice we have, that's why the soil has become poorly. Because mostly people continue cultivating on the same land throughout, and that's why the soil has lost fertility, and we don't have things like a fertilizers where to enhance the soil.
So you have problem with soil as well? You have problem with soil?
The soils are poor because we cultivate on the same land, and we don't have like we don't use fertilizer. Yes, and we don't have fertilizer to enhance the soil to increase the productivity. Because country like Japan, they have a limited land, but they're able to produce enough because they use fertilizers to enhance the soil fertility. Because most of the farmers in the developing world, like sub-Saharan African subcontinent, their people rely on what because just on nature. Yeah, and because the water scarcity is also a challenge because of what they call the climate change, because they rely on the natural rain-fed agriculture. We use only rain-fed agriculture. So once there's failure in the rainfall, it means the harvest cannot there because we don't use irrigation. We don't have the facility to use this to do the cultivation during the dry season, and during sometime a short spell of rain there might be over flooding because the rain sometimes too much. We don't have some technology like to do water harvesting to store water to be utilized during the off season like dry season.
Yeah, and another one here is lack of regional cooperation and conflict too, right?
Yeah. Yes.
You don't use organic fertilizer. You don't use organic fertilizer like food waste, harvest waste, and then recycle it. You don't use those?
We use, but it is unlimited basis. Yes, and also the population growth rate is too high because people are overproducing the population. Like it is according to the World Bank, it is 2.7 per annum the rate, the average. So which is too much, and it is expected the population to double in the next few years to come. So as with the current situation, people are unable to feed, so there'll be more challenge in terms of food insecurity as a result of overpopulation, unless there is.
You are from Sudan, Alex? Are you from Sudan? Sudan or South Sudan?
I'm from South Sudan.
South Sudan. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
In our country, there's also a lot of land grabbing. You know, do you have
that? That's the same thing because the rich people, they utilize their position to grab the land of the poor. Like in my country, those in the government, the warlord, the one which you are now controlling, they grab the lands of the poor. So like they displace people from my region because the current government who are controlling their from the pastoralist community,
Very
and
good.
they brought their animals to our region because our people in the region, they keep cattle but in a small number. Most of them, they are farmers. They like use a mixed farming system. They keep their animal control and do cultivation, but the other community, for them, they rely on animals. So when they don't value the other sort crop, they drive the animal to farmers field, so it creates some conflict. So that's why it is sometimes it lead to some of the problem, and there's a lot of land grabbing. People are, because the government officials, they take away the lands for the poor farmers, and because they can manipulate the issue of land title, they can get the paperwork easily, because you, the poor one, cannot afford to get the paperwork.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, I can relate very much on that, you know. But we're trying hard to remove the power of the landowners, you know, and land grabbing by having what we call the agrarian land reform, meaning um, you cannot own more than 7 square uh, meters of land anymore. You have to give it out to the farmers so that the farmers can own their land. We will be discussing the last factor, climate change, later on as one of the worsening factors. Okay. The maple crop, they are saying that it is a barometer to identify countries which may be susceptible to famine and societal unrest stemming from food shortage and price fluctuation. There are what you call 197 countries as well as nutritional and health. As you could see, conflict usually, when people are hungry, they really fight to death to get food. And that is why food is so important. All right, this is the status of the populations right now. Which one has the most extreme food insecurity? You are number 9, Alex. 9. Number
Maybe
1 is
it might be one that this for which year? For which year the status?
Eritrea. It's right here. Number 7.
No, I mean the what the is which the ranking for which year? 2018 or 2019?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is 2019. 2019. Yes, this is the most recent one.
Okay.
Number 1 is Somalia, then the Democratic Republic of Congo, then you have Haiti, Burundi, Chad, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Afghanistan, South Sudan, and Comoros.
Comoros.
Right? Yeah, Comoro.
Yeah.
Right.
What
Extreme.
they have not put Yemen? Why Yemen? Because there is also Yemen supposed to be.
Yemen. I don't know why it's such here. I will show you later. Maybe for further information, you can go and this one. I don't know about Yemen, but I will see later. I will check to you again about
All
Yemen.
right.
But in the Horn of Africa and Somalia, Ethiopia and Eritrea, their human failings mean a severe drought has slipped millions into famine. You don't suffer famine in South Sudan? No famine?
We suffer because of the war. It was 2017. There was famine declared in the part of the country because of the war.
Right. You could see in this third statement, war. You were right. War begets poverty, leaving food unaffordable. No. So what else? There is also infrastructure is destroyed both for food production and ability to track in emergency food. What are the food infrastructure for food? No irrigation system, no national irrigation system. You rely on nature. They call it rain-fed farm. That's no
Yes.
good. Then the collapse of society means the effects of extreme weather such as drought that cannot be dealt with. Unless, what do? You do cloud seeding. And the fear of violence turns people into refugees, leaving their livelihoods and social network behind. Because there is a lot of war, they leave their farm, and therefore the farm becomes idle, leaving their livelihood and social network behind. So there's a lot of violence so that people become refugees. This is an example. This was taken in 2011, right? These are farmers in Somalia, capital of Mogadishu, in August 18, 2011. These are refugees. They left their farmlands and their social network and their livelihood because of violence existing in that country. This is an example of that. Now we will go to the food security mind map. Now I'm introducing another one. What is a mind map? Mind map is I want you to create your own mind map involving a global and local issues in food security using the previous slides for preference. Discuss food security as chronic, temporary, sporadic, or seasonal, and discuss why socioeconomic factors often exert a very significant impact on the geography of food security, often more so than climate, soil, or geographical. So according to them, it's more of socioeconomic factors more than climate, soil, or geographical factors. The other things that I want you to have in mind is why drylands can be food insecure, but also can be food secure, and you can give examples. This is an example of a mind map. This is an example of a mind map. So what are the factors? These are all factors that contribute to food security, in the year 2050. First is availability of resources, increasing population, but the change in pattern of consumption of human. In one area in my country, they used only to eat yams and root crops. But now they want to eat rice, no more root crops. So that is a change in pattern consumption. Produce of local organic food, there is a lot of social justice in energy dependence, land resource management, climate, land degradation, as you said, you use it over and over again, the land, and there is no application of fertilizer, so the land degraded. What about technological advancement and infrastructure, like building of irrigation system and dams, fertility and so forth? Then you have green revolution. And as you said, the education of women is very important. Knowledge, child mortality, religion, economics, system inequity, trade, conflict, family planning. Do they do family planning? And social movement, political will of the government, capitalism, and structure and process, energy dependence, and so forth. This is an example of a mind map. Can you make one tomorrow regarding South Sudan, a mind map? What are the food security so that you can attain 2015 food security? Which among these factors? And put it in a slide tomorrow and then show it to me, your mind map based on this. Okay? Right, that is the food security index. So I will show you this one. The food security index, all right? And then we will see this one, the one who are very secure. The one that I showed you before, can you see this? Can you see this?
The risk coping strategy?
Yeah, ranking performance. Do you see it?
Yeah, the one appearing on the screen is the risk coping strategy on climate change.
Oh, okay. Oh. Oh, no. Okay, so you don't see this? You cannot see this? Can you see what I'm showing?
No,
No.
No.
still waiting.
No, you cannot.
Hmm.
Okay, the first one is Singapore. It has the most food secure right now. Then Ireland, United Kingdom. Third is United States. Then Australia, Switzerland, Finland, Canada, France, Germany, Norway, Sweden, New Zealand, Denmark. Israel is number 20. Let's see where Japan is. Japan is, in terms of food security, Japan is, oh, where is Japan? Probably I missed it on top, right? Japan is number 18. You cannot see this. You cannot. All right. So let me close it. Let me close it then. All right. So that is you can access this so you can see. No, the one earlier I showed you the top who are insecure. Now you can see the one that are insecure. Okay. I will pause now and show you. Wait. Wait. Okay. Wait. I will show you this one. I will skip that one first. I will show you this one first. Where is the world next meal coming from? According to this author, it's in Netherlands. Can you see this?
Yes.
Can you see it? Okay. Right, that is the Netherlands. If this is United States, Netherlands is only a small portion of Texas. This is the Texas. Netherlands is only a small, very one tenth of Texas. No? But let me show you some statistics. Netherlands has been a major food exporter for many years. It continues to increase. It increased 7% between 2016 and 2017, and 25% between 2010 and 2017. According to the Ministry of Agriculture, it rose to 0.2% between 2017 and 2018. Why is Netherlands, a small country, is producing a lot of food? All right, that is your question. The U.S., meanwhile, increased its agricultural export 4% per year on the first 10 months of 2018 through agricultural export. In October 2018 alone, the lowest for any October since 2011, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture data. But the Netherlands saw 104.6 billion in agricultural exports in 2017, compared only to 140.5 billion. You see, Netherlands is so small, and yet they export 104, United States 140.5 billion. You know why? What are they doing? You know, why are they producing a lot of food? They put a lot of what? When famine killed a lot of people in 1944, where 22,000 people died, according to the Oxfam Global Food Index, Netherlands are now the tallest on average, get enough to eat and have access to healthy food. Because they have a lot of food, they have access to food, so that they have increased their food security index. They have what they call majors, they have efficiency, they have what they call Dutch farming. But they have also problems like antibiotic use in livestock, with its use inventory decreased by a third between 1999 and 2015. So what were they using in Netherlands? We do not know. They do not tell us. But what they are saying is that they are the Dutch ministry through its roles to have actually learned their lessons during the 1944 famine that killed 22,000 people. Now they concentrate on food. No? That is Netherlands right now. So you remember that. Now let's go back to the previous slide. Okay. I gave you now my mind mapping. I will now talk about global warming. Okay, climate change. Right. What does this picture tell you? What does it tell you? Tell me a story about this picture.
So it's like telling people are going to shrink like the way the clothes they are shrinking. As the first during 18th century, people were a bit long. As the time 1900 reduced.
This is female underwear. Now this is what they wear now. The proof of global warming. Okay, why? Right. So that is what an introduction of the ano. Now let us first distinguish between hazard and disaster. Okay. A hazard is a natural or human-made event that adversely affects human life, property, or activity. Meteorological hazards make up most of the natural hazard events. In addition to the rise of weather-related natural hazards, more reporting thanks to better communication may make it seem like the frequency and distraction and disasters are increasing more than they actually are. So it's a natural or human-made event. What about disaster? It's an occurrence disrupting the natural conditions of existence. So in other words, you have to have a hazard first so that you have a disaster. Hazard is both natural and man-made. Okay, that is a definition that was given. All right, next. The next one is, what are the impacts of climate change? They can be direct or indirect, short or long-term, tangible or intangible, negative or positive. What are the caused by impacts of disaster? Whether man-made, natural, both, there's a lot of humanitarian emergency, call for urgent and immediate relief or aid, and the complex multi effects that are both physical, social, or economic. What is IPCC? This is the Interpanel Climate Change created by the United Nations. Interpanel on Climate Change. They report that the main findings of the IPCC on the evolution of climate as well its main physical effects, such as consequences for land and ocean change. There is a sea level rise and ocean acidification. It also brings better understanding of potential spatial changes in rain, precipitation is rain, in intensity and seasonal distribution. According to some of the people that interview, they usually harvest in May, but now they change their harvest calendar, they change their planting season because of climate change. Moreover, improvement in modeling as well as in data collection and use enable making better projections on medium-term perspective and a much more localized scope. These improvements are very crucial to understand and project potential impacts on agricultural systems. According to the latest IPCC, there is what you call a cascading impacts of climate change that can be attributed along chains of evidence of physical climate through intermediate system and then to people. Now I'm going to show you this schematic. This is the schematic diagram on impact of climate change. You know? And those are the 4 dimensions of food security: availability, access, utilization, and stability. Now, this is climate change. Yeah, as you can see, climate change. As a result of climate change, there is land degradation. What is climate change? It is a change in the atmospheric composition of oxygen, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, phosphorus, and methane. No? There is a climate change because this also element in the atmosphere changes. There is more carbon dioxide, less oxygen. As a result of climate change, can you see it? I couldn't make it bigger. There is a change in temperature. That's why it's called global warming. There is a change in sea level rise. This sea level rise. There is more rain or less rain. The water availability can impact the ecosystem. It has an ocean, because of ocean acidification, right? There is the aquatic species also die. The cultivated plants, there are lots of pests and diseases that can actually have an impact on not only livestock, agricultural plants, and also forests. This is agroecosystem. Now, because of that, what happened to the agricultural production and post-harvest? There will be a price increase, quantity can be lessened, and the quality of food produced can also become low as a result of that. Because of market trade income, the livelihood of the farmers is affected, and food prices also change. And so the other livelihoods can also be affected. As a result, it affects food security. This is connected. I am connecting food security with climate change using this diagram that I borrowed from Peter Carter. And I think it really fits in so well on what we have actually discussed earlier. Can you see it? This is what we discussed earlier. This is the what. Now, I am putting in now climate change. How it affects the agroecosystem, how it affects the agricultural production and post-harvest, and how it affects agricultural livelihood and other livelihood and the food security and nutrition. Now we are now connecting climate change with food security and nutrition. Do you have any question? This is the ecosystem, the species, the livestock, forest, all right? Because of the production, the price increase, the quantity is affected, the quality of food is also affected, and then the income of the farmers is affected because it's either the food, because the qualities go down, the quantity go down, their income also go down. This is a very good cascading impacts of global warming and climate disruption on food security. And it summarizes everything that we have taken so far. Do you have questions?
Yes, I have one quick question. As an agriculture economist, I'm very interesting. I have very interesting about where the household behavior stuff might be incorporated in this diagram or figures.
Yeah. I guess it's because it's right here. The household do not have any more food available. This is household. There is no more access for food. It changes their utilization for food. And
I mean, speaking of the household behavior, it includes not only consumer, based on some consumers' preference, which you have mentioned at the top of the structure. As you know, as you are aware of, household behavior includes production. So my basic question is how the production behavior by the farm household might be incorporated.
Oh, okay. The farm households usually they have a lot of coping strategies, which I'm going to discuss later. And I think that is what you were interested also.
Production?
Yeah. How do they, because of this impact of climate change, how do households or farm households cope with these risks? Is that your question?
Yes.
Yes, I'm going to discuss that using the Philippine study. Okay, because of this, how does it impact the farm household and how do they cope with this? Because climate change is inevitable. It is here with us. It is here. How do they cope with it? And that is the subject matter I'm going to cope. What about you, Alex? Do you have any question?
I am okay. Just there was a part you mentioned about Iberian Peninsula. I don't know which region in the world is it located. Iberian.
I'm looking at the Philippines. Some studies that have been done in the Philippines on climate change.
Okay, if it is Iberian, it includes Philippine side.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
That's good.
Okay.
All right.
Let's see. All right. But let me show you some of these fragile states which I have given. This is repeated. 2/3 of the world's poor will be living in Congo and Somalia. Okay. Eritrea, human field. I think this is a repetition. This is the state fragility index. This is different from what I've shown you before. This is a state fragility index. Before it was Maplecraft. This time it is systemicpeace.org who did this. Again, the extreme are this one in dark maroon color. Again, it's in this area. Very high is this red one. Most of them are very dark color here, right? But there is no, so in other words, the one that I showed you before is the food insecurity map. This one is fragility, no? So if you are insecure, you will also be fragile. State of fragility that was in 2011. Moderate fragile. Philippines is moderate too. As you could see, Japan is now color. Little or none at all. Japan, little or no color. Same with the United States and Canada, little or no color. Same with Australia. Same with Europe. They are not fragile. No fragility. Where is the fragility? You know, most in Asia, and a lot of it are coming from Africa. But South Africa, it's not fragile. As you could see, South America, I'm sorry, the southern part of America. And also South Africa. Is this South Africa?
No, that's Botswana.
Botswana?
Yeah.
Oh, Botswana. Not fragile at all. Similar to that of Japan, Australia, United States, Canada, and Europe. Ours, we are yellow. It's 8 to 11%. Okay? It's a good that I'm showing you all of this. All right, I've shown you this one. All right, now I'm going to show you now the question of Prof. Kamayama. This is how do farm households cope with all of this? These are the agricultural risk coping strategies in the Philippines. No? The study one is the coping mechanism of farmers at Catabagan, Goa, Camarines Sur. This is a province in the Philippines. that has extreme weather condition. The author is Agnes Pesimo, and it was done in 2017, and it was presented in Manila. Okay, what is the study about? Okay, this is in one area. It's the question of Professor Kamayama. What happened to the farm household? All right, coping mechanism of farms to crop. What do they use? They use crop rotation. That's one of their coping strategy. In between cropping and planting alternative crops, they plant sweet potato, cassava, and mungo. I don't know if that is an internet in acclimatizing extreme heat or weather. So that's what they use. That's one coping mechanism. What about coping mechanism towards their income? You know, when there is a low income, they tend to harvest the remaining goods from their farmland and sell them at a higher cost. So they jack up the cost of their farm. So whatever that remains, they harvest it and and jack up the price and the cost of the product. Okay, that's one. That's what they do. What about the coping mechanism of farmers toward soil quality? What do? They allow their crops to decay during extreme rainfall. They let them decay. And according to them, this practice would convert the decayed plants into fertilizers and conditions the soil, thus improving its quality and increase its productivity. So they don't do anything about it. They just let it decay. And once it decay, according to the farmers, it actually can improve the fertility of the soil. This is when there is a lot of rain. Okay. Right, those are the research highlights. That's one of the three coping strategies that farmers use during coping, how they cope with climate change. You have a question? Something can you apply in your country?
I hope so.
Yeah, okay, let's see. Yeah, this is one. Study number 2. Risk management and coping strategies, climate change and agriculture in the Philippines. I didn't get a lot of answers here, but what they are doing is they have resilience at the household level. What do you mean by resilience? They actually save some of the things that resilience means to say what they usually eat, they lessen the food that they eat. That's one of the resilience thing. I'm not so sure what they were trying to tell me, but in this study they said it is resilience at the household level. So resilience meaning to say that if there is so much rain and you bend backward and it destroys, they easily stand up and be by themselves and recover easily. And that
is it almost the same as flexible?
The what?
Flexible.
Yeah, yes, they are so flexible. In other words, they adapt.
Adequate, adaptable.
They are adaptable. So it's a characteristics of Filipinos, and that's how they cope. They are very flexible. If they're used to eating a lot of rice, they change it. They lessen the amount of rice that they use. And what do? They supplement it with root crops. They eat a lot of root crops. Now this one, I am going to discuss what we have done. What I am part of it, but I am not the main author. Dr. Zamora and Dr. De Guzman, I'm one of the project staff. What did we do? we documented the knowledge of indigenous people and how they adapt to climate change. Okay. This is the project. How do people in the farm household adapt to climate change? What are their knowledge for climate change adaptation? Okay. Right. These are some pictures. This is the cover of that report. Okay. I'll show you some of them. All right. This is a baka plant. All right. And I'll show you some of them. This is the what we use as a framework. This is the indigenous people adaptive capacity for climate change. They use their culture, the customary laws, they have ancestral domain and their resources. What they use is the diversification of crops and varieties by varieties planted and harvested. They also have knowledge of non-traditional wild plants and animals for food and medicine. They change their cropping calendar and working time in the field. That's how they adapt. They also have historical memory of local weather trends and past calamities. Indigenous climate hazards indicators and warning system. They have their own warning system. They have indigenous food and preservative methods and techniques. And they have other adaptation strategies to promote indigenous climate change adaptation. Sometimes this indigenous knowledge is very important and they can help us also adapt some of those things that they do so that we can adapt to the different climate change. And this is what we found out. Right, when they have, these are onions, red onions, which are harvested so that it will remain, they will have a longer shelf life of these onions. They put it on top of their kitchen. You know, this is their kitchen, their kitchen where they cook, right? They hang them there, onions and garlic. They said this is the way to preserve it so that they won't get spoiled. No? So that's how they hang their onions. This is onions and garlic. No? It's on the kitchen.
Is it, speaking of the onion, is it almost a fresh onion or
They're fresh.
not fresh? I mean,
Fresh.
the dried one. Dried one also.
The dried one. The dried one. Okay. In Batanes, in the northern part province of Bataan, they build rock walls for soil and water conservation. These are rocks. They build rocks so that the water and soil will not erode. So they have these rock walls, no? Because there's too much rain in the Philippines. I don't know how it is in South Sudan, but there's so much rain. So what, to prevent soil erosion and to conserve water, they have this rock, we call it rock wall. They build it by hand. It's not meant to cement. That's one of the adaptation that they do. In Suludnon, that's another indigenous tribe. This is how they carry bananas from the field to the area, where these are loaded with jeepneys for transport and sale in Iloilo City. Because there is no market to road. There is no farm to market road. So what do? They walk. You know, I asked them how many kilometers they walked from the mountain down. It's 7 kilometers. 7 kilometers, that's about 5 miles, you know, that they walk. And that is how they sell their produce. These are bananas, you know, because of, as I mentioned to you, there is lack of farm to market. This is another one that you can read, no? Plant adaptation to environmental stresses. In Uganda, they have also a study on that. This is the rivers and lakes in Uganda, that's your Sudan, South Sudan, that can help. It's an infrastructure when you could help irrigate the water, no? Okay. For tomorrow, is it time? Yes. For you to ponder, tomorrow we start our session, and I want you to prepare your own 5 slides to show what are the 5 lessons you learned from the first day lecture. And for each lessons, what are the actions you will take to make these lessons concrete? Is that okay, Alex? Before we
Yeah.
start, you start tomorrow. And I'll send you the slide today so that you can use it as reference.
Okay.
Right. So anything more that you want me to elaborate on this? I'll show you the part of the terminal report. I'll end the show. I will look for the terminal report since you have more time. Mm. Just a minute. Okay, how do I share?
Yeah,
Can you see it?
you can, could you send?
Can you see it?
Yeah,
No?
yeah, I can see.
You can see? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. This is the terminal report of what we have done. Okay. Right. And I'll show you how the different, some of the,
It is not appearing on the screen. The only slide is the one still appearing.
you cannot see it?
No.
No, you can. Let's see. Uh,
Maybe close the first one, the first slide.
okay. Wait, I will go to this one. I will go to the sharing first. Uh, um,
And start your presentation.
I will close this one. This one you can see.
Yes.
Yeah. The first
Yeah.
one is still appearing.
How do I share? How do I share?
And go
In the Zoom. In the Zoom.
No, we've already seen. I mean, we are watching this the slide. Now you are showing us
Share.
Right.
Uh,
So once you click the presentation mode, the bottom of
can you see it now?
Yes.
you can see it.
All right. So this is the one that I have shown you where they have a lot of this one is how this is a part in the northern part of the province. I'll show you more pictures about the climate. Now I know how to share. Sorry, it takes a while. Right. This is the different climate change that we have for each province that we studied, how it changes over time. No? And then this is the agricultural calendar that they have. I don't know how you could use it during summer, winter. This is their calendar. Time of fishing. Planting season is in February. Planting season, amihan. Preparation for planting and so forth. This is a calendar that they use. Right. They also have a reed. Use as trellis. You know, how do I make it? All right, use as trellis. This is the Viyabut reed. They use it as trellis for their plants. That is one of their coping strategy. It's meant to be used as trellis. They call it for root crops. Okay, let me show you another one. This is the one that I showed you, the rock, right, for their tubers, right? Now, these are the different plants that they use and their scientific name. All right. Okay, this is an example of a buff-banded real bird. It's a sign of a forthcoming calamity. If they see this bird, there is a hazard that is coming. So they look at this. They call it a buff-banded real bird. No? So once they see it, oh, there's a calamity that's happening. No, that's how they use it in the indigenous ones. Now the other one, they change their local horoscope. They call it the zodiac sign is used also. Good to start if you are an Aquarius. Good with plants. Good for fishing or hunting. Then I will show you this one. Okay, I'll show you this one. Farm puzzles. That is an adaptation strategy too. They plant a different crop here and they plant another crop here. Right. Why is it done that way? They don't plant the same crop in one parcel. They divide the farmland into different parcels and they plant different crops. They said that if, for example, this crop dies during wet season, this one will remain strong. They won't go hungry. So they have parcels, and each parcel they plant different crops. That is also, and each parcel is about 500 square meters. That is typical parcels of land that they use. So if this one die because of a certain hazard, and it is not very strong and resilient to climate change, they still have this for food. And that is what they are doing. Very interesting, isn't it? They don't plant for the whole thing. Okay, this is the GIS map that we use, right? There's more. We do that for everyone. In another tribe in Tagbanwa, it's in Palawan. These are some of the local birds that are found in that area. I'm not so sure how they are using it. They said that if there is a sound of local birds, such as the gok-gok or wood owl, this one, and pasayaw and It's a warning signals for impending disasters like heavy rains. Just like I showed you the bird a while ago, if they see these birds around, they said there will be heavy rains and disaster. So they are very keen to their nature. No? That's how they do it. The other one, these are the different kinds of rice that they
So you have
plant.
been down a kind of knowledge management, which connects information and the action, right?
Right.
Okay, very nice.
These are the traditional rice varieties. Now I'll show you more. It gets excited. These are some indigenous food and medicinal crops. This is black sesame. This is black sesame. This is colitis, or what you call amaranthus. And then kamal. It's a miracle leaf for them. No, it's called Bryophyllum pinnatum. No? This I cannot give you a copy because of the copyright, but I am showing it to you. No? Then in Iloilo, this is where I studied. This is what I studied, right?
By the way, have you published in Japanese?
Yes, I publish. It will be coming at the mine. I only publish mine. This one, the Suludnon. It will be coming out at the Journal of Environmental Science.
Not
This
yet
one.
in Japanese.
No, in English. In English. But I'll send you a copy of it.
I think some Japanese would like to publish based on publish something like knowledge.
Yeah, maybe so.
In some Japanese might want to.
Very interesting, isn't it? In Japan. All right, this is the one I showed you. They are loaded with bananas, and then there's another one. They changed their cropping system. In upland rice, they used to plant from March. They now plant in April. For coffee, they plant in July. Now they plant in August. For banana, they used to plant in June. Now they plant in July because of climate change. In sweet potatoes, they used to plant in August. Now they plant in September. In cassava, they used to plant in August. Now in September. Ube, it's a violet yam. They used to plant July, now August. Vegetable, they move it also from May to June. And peanuts also from May to June. This is what we ask them. No? This is what they do for climate change because the climate is also changing. No? They have a lot of rituals too. You know, they usually eat wild pig. They also eat wild fish and so forth and so on. No? They said the best time to plant banana is during full moon. That's what the best time. Naked males are preferred to plant sweet potatoes than females because sweet potatoes by males is smoother than those planted by females. These are some of the views. Planting sweet potatoes is done when there are big clouds formation because they believe that sweet potatoes would mimic the shape of the cloud. The use of calendar to be informed when the full moon will occur, and that is when they are going to plant their bananas.
Maybe encouraging to work hard. Maybe this statement, but these ideas or knowledge encourage the males to work hard.
Yeah, they have to work hard too. Aside from looking at their customs and tradition. The elderly bathe their patron saints in the river and wash their feet. And when they are asking for a good weather and for more rain, especially during dry months. These are the things that they do during planting. These are the things that they do during harvesting. Harvesting should be timed during low tide in order to get high yield. Low tide. Before harvesting, one should survey the area and put kalawag or yellow ginger. This to prevent entry of bad spirit in the field. Dear Alex, no, I don't know. You should have some of these practices. During harvest time, the owner of the farm must go around the farm while dropping yellow ginger or turmeric. Looking backwards while doing this is not allowed. The harvester must face the east for a higher yield. These are some, and this is what they use for harvesting. We call it, it's made of, this is wood, but this is made of steel. They use it like this, they grab it in between, and that's what they use. We call it kayug. Do you have something like this too in your country for harvesting?
Maybe for cutting, people use some
Cutting.
traditional. Yeah.
We don't have cutting. We use this one. We use it for cutting.
Like a scissors, right?
Like a scissor. No, but it doesn't clip. Professor Kamayama, it doesn't clip. This one are the one that
yes, you cut single shape.
You cut it this way. So you hold the rice plant and then you cut it.
Yeah.
It's not like scissor.
Yeah.
Then they have other rituals. Right. This is the part that I have published because that is mine. And also the Ati tribe. It's coming out, I don't know when, but it has been accepted and it has been reviewed and so forth and so on. We also ask them to recall some of the typhoons that they can remember that help damage them. They have Typhoon Frank, Undang, Typhoon Ondoy, Tampo, Typhoon Pablo. Now, another interesting thing about in Davao, so they also changed their planting season. I'm moving on into some of the land preparation. They have planting bananas also during the full moon. Now, in Leyte, this is where there was the Yolanda or the biggest typhoon. This is the part where another tribe, this is the record of their climate change, right? And this is another interesting one that I'd like to show you the picture. We asked them to draw, and this is what they have shown us. This is interesting one. From left to right, a star near the moon is a sign of possible mishap or crime that may happen. This one. When the star is near the moon, so they look up also, they do not only look at the birds, they look at this. All right? Half moon facing a mountain and a star at its rear points a place that would have plentiful food. A rainbow near the moon, indicates impending rainfall, while rainbow far from the moon indicates there is a typhoon. A half moon facing the rear portion of a star indicates abundance of food. So they look at the stars too in order to tell whether they will have a good harvest or not. And this is their own drawing. We captured it. Okay? I guess that's about it. Farming practice in bye-bye. All right. Let's see. These are again some of the things that they use. See, these are the planting rice and corn. All right. They also look at stars.
Can specify the date on the calendar, like middle of the July, when the heavy rainy season has started, or So
Yeah.
from based on such astronomical
Yes.
information,
Yes.
how much
Yes.
time? Hmm.
So January they start on planning what kind of crops to be planted because they see this the Pleiades. In February they start planting and setting traps to protect the crops because they see Orion belt. When they see the Gemini, which is April and May, they end the planting season, which means rich harvest. When they see the Canis Minor, they stop planting. And when they see Aquila, they time to clean and clear the fields while waiting for harvest time. So they look at the astronomical signs, and these are some of the ones that they saw. This is the Baha from December to June. This is the Malihe, right? This is the Pandarama that they see in January. This is the April, what they see in April and May. This is what they see in May, and this is what they see in February. Very interesting. The stars and constellation with their corresponding month of occurrence, right? These are the things that they do. Okay, they also eat this food. This is a panji. They boil it and slice it, and they can be eaten. It has also white flowers and green fruits that turn black when mature. It contains vitamins. This one contains what is a wild gabi. It's also good. And this is used as a seasoning instead of using the MSG. It's a concoction of palm leaves and hot water is drunk to relieve body aches. So they have a lot of medicinal plants. Okay.
Thank you.
I guess that's about it
Yes.
in terms of today. And I am giving you some of the studies that we have done in my country. And tomorrow I'll show you how you can do researches, in your own country using quantitative and qualitative without using software. Even if you don't have SPSS, even if you don't have this, you can still make research. Okay?
Okay.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for that. Hope you enjoyed it. These are the things that I have shared to you this morning. And it's time for lunch in your country.
Yeah.
Oh, some of the friends are waiting for Alex, particularly.
You show me 5 slides tomorrow, Alex. Huh? Right? I'll tell you what you have done.
Yeah. So thank you very
I
much.
will send this.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll send this, Professor Kameyama, to you today.
Yes.
And
Okay.
Alex.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
Alex. Or to
Thank
Prof. Kameyama only.
No, please send to us once.
To both of
At
you.
once.
All right, I'll send it right away.
Okay.
Once we are done.
Yeah.
I'll see
Okay.
you tomorrow. No more glitches. You will start on time. Now I know. I forgot. Sorry, Professor
Okay.
Kamayama, for the delay. I am sorry. Have a
So
good
now
day.
you're the perfect Zoom user. Yeah. So you can make a very
Because I
high
connected.
quality presentations through Zoom without any doubt. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much, and
Okay.
I'll see you all tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So have a good night. Good afternoon.
Have a good day and have a
Okay.
good day.
Ready.
All right.
I'll send this one to you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. So let me close this Zoom windows, ending by clicking ending me. So see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Yes, see you tomorrow. Bye.
Okay. Bye.